Hi everybody, it's Nathan Cool with SwellWatchOnSurfingMagazine.com. It's January 26, 2016. Now that we're into the heat of things, so to speak, with El Nino, I thought I'd get a little bit more frequent with some of the updates. There have been some new things that have happened also in the last couple of weeks I wanted to keep you updated on. Also have some news on the rain. It's not all that good news. There is some on the way. So with that in mind, I wanted to show exactly what's going on with the models, not just showing some of the stuff that might happen, some of the statistics, but actually a better chance by looking through some of the models that I look at. It's all available too. You can get this. It's with your tax dollars from NOAA, FN Mock, and some others. So I wanted to go through some of those and actually run through those models. So do a little bit of a different format this time doing it, but most importantly of all, at the end of showing this, which I'll keep that portion of it very brief because we've got a lot of reader photos that have come in. You guys have sent in a lot of great photos. Want to show some of that covering this year's El Nino. I want to keep that going if we can too. As this El Nino still progresses, when major surf hits the coast, when we have weather, anything to that effect, go ahead and email me, Nathan at nathancool.com. And of course, you can follow me on Facebook and share it with me as well there at facebook.com/NathanToddCool. But right now, I want to dive into this and show you what's first going on with El Nino, what's going on with the weather, what's going on with the waves, and then show you all the great pictures that have come in and what this El Nino will go down in history and what we'll remember it for. Let's take a look right now. So first off, take a look at the sea surface temperatures and where we are. We can still see a strong El Nino that's going on. We can see that it's much weaker than what it has been, despite some of the temperatures that are coming in. Some of the temperature readings that you'll hear about is what's in the news. It's in the far end of the central to eastern portion of the El Nino ENSO 3.4 zone. So take a look at comparison. Here's a model from 1998. Right about the same time, this is actually January 24th, 1998. We can see that there was a very strong El Nino signal. Comparing the two together, there's very, very strong signal that was coming off there this time of year back in 1998. More so though, something I've been discussing recently is that there's been this delta in temperature. Notice how much the Pacific was very cold compared to what we're seeing now. And of course, the whole thing about El Nino, it's not just that there's a certain temperature across the equator, it's that that temperature is above normal and above the other temperatures that are around it. So that causes then a different type of transport, Rossby transport, the Hadley cells, everything that's affected by this that then affects our jet stream, and of course that's where the rubber meets the road. There's been some new developments, and this of course got the attention of quite a few people. I want to just briefly cover this. It was a westerly wind burst that happened recently. That's what is shown here, this big red blob down here near the bottom. Now, this is a time longitudinal map, so we've got the time frame here. At the top, it's August 2015. Down here was 16 January 2016. And of course, these are the degrees of longitude across the equatorial Pacific. So when we get these strong wind bursts, that helps to drive warm water. Eventually there's downwelling, upwellings that happen from it too. But eventually just think of that as being able to drive then the warm water into our El Nino zones. And that's what happened when we had near the end of last year and also earlier in the summer of last year. And that's what really started fueling El Nino were these wind bursts here. We can see a very strong one here. It is a single one right now. If we get more of those though, then obviously we can get more warm water. What that means when we take a look at the heat ocean temperature, and we've got the very warm phases that happened after we had those wind bursts, and that happened last year. These are what then helped fuel the El Nino zones. And we can see that there's another one that's starting to progress. So that wind burst that happened, sure enough, we'll be able to get something out of that. Whether it'll strengthen El Nino, whether it'll weaken it, well, that's still to be seen. So we have a kind of a weakening El Nino signal. We can see this from the latest CFSV2 forecast. This is more of a statistical model that shows what is probably going to happen. Now originally, if you might remember from my last video, this same model was shown just to continue dropping off. Well, with the recent developments, they've upped that chance, and now it actually not just leveled off, but it increased a little bit. If you notice some of the other model outliers here, these are then the forecasts. This is the reading, these are the forecasts. And these are all the different probabilities. So some of the probabilities show that, yeah, that El Nino signal could keep strengthening for a little while, or not really strengthen, but at least linger stronger than normal for a while. And there is a possibility that later in the year, July, October, maybe we could go into El Nino again, although most models show we'd level off to some degree. But what's nice to know is that maybe if we had a longer lasting El Nino, then we wouldn't just have something come all at us at once, and we can get something over a longer period, which would then help with the drought. And speaking of which, I wanted to show something here. I've zoomed out on this, but I put together a chart here recently. I'll probably share this on Facebook as well. But taking a look at data that I've gotten from NOAA of the rain over January, February, and March for the various years. This goes back to 1979 all the way through present. And what I've done then is I've overlaid the ENSO scale on top of it. So where you see red going up here, that's an El Nino. For instance, this little peak right here, that's 1998. That was February 1998. There's the El Nino signal. You can see we had a very positive El Nino. Zooming in on it, you can see that was February 1998, strong El Nino signal. What everybody's afraid of now, though, is that we don't have a whole lot of rain headed our way over the next few weeks. I'm going to get to those models in just a second. So what we're hoping for is what some people have called in the past the Miracle March. And that's where we get our rain kind of late in the season. We can see that that's happened a few other times. 1981, 1983 specifically, we can see 1981, by the way, wasn't really an El Nino at all. It was actually coming out of one. But there was quite a bit of rain in March, almost 5 inches in 1981, and we got about 8 inches or so in 1983. This is measured, by the way, off Oxnard, just as a point of measurement. So we can see that there are years where we would get it. Even in 1995, a very kind of weak El Nino, but we got a lot of rain in January, 15 inches of rain in January 1995, and even that year we got about 8 inches of rain in March. 1998 is when things just blasted us in February, and that's what everybody's been waiting for. February's the month, February's the month, and it typically is quite a bit for rain, but we can even see in the 95 El Nino, January and March were the strongest months, not necessarily February. No two El Ninos are alike, so it'll be hard to tell exactly when we're going to get more rain, but I wanted to show you what's going on right now with the models. So this is a great model. This is provided by NOAA. It's your tax dollars at work. And this is the GFS run. They have a whole lot of different runs that are made out of this, but GFS is a very popular one. So I wanted to show you what's going on kind of right now. So if we take a look here at the very first model run here, and I'm just going to whip through these just real quick just to give you an idea. Some will be animated, so it'll help. If you take a look, this is Southern California down in this area right here. And we've got this high pressure off here. This is what's been known as the West Coast High. So as storms, here's one here, for instance, this is precipitation. So you can see the green is precipitation, blue is a lot of precipitation, red, like here in the tropics, is massive amounts. That high pressure is blocking things from coming in. So as we start running those models, you can see that high pressure persists and that low wants to bring rain our way. But look what happens here. As we get a little closer to this weekend, then things start changing just a little bit. So moving in a little bit slower, you can see that one low pressure system now start nearing the coast. Despite the fact that there was high pressure here, it broke down some. High pressure would be over here, so it's not a slam dunk El Nino storm, but it would come through the area. Mostly that's Central California. Southern California could see some of that. This is actually then Sunday afternoon. So this would be great going into then Monday, the 1st. So we'd get some rain out of that, but then let's take a look at what happens after that. Well, that high pressure just comes right back into play, sitting right off of the coast of Southern California, also Central California. That's keeping the jet stream high. So as we watch the next few storms start to come our way, we can see they kind of get buffered. They're being thrown at high latitudes. When they do come here, the high pressure is breaking them apart, so they don't really have much of a chance to not just come our way, but also stay together. But there are some rain chances still in the forecast. Here's looking farther out, we can see that once we get about the 8th, 9th time frame, there's some stuff that could possibly come over us, but look at this high. Still a very strong high pressure system kind of sitting over the area, and so that could really foul things up. But hope is still on the horizon for the 9th, where we could still then see another shot of rain. None of these look all that much. The one for Sunday coming in looks a lot more. The one on the 9th, probably about a quarter to a half inch for most areas. That blocking high, once again, is standing in the way of yet another system that could come our way. So taking a look at the jet stream, this is also from those GFS models. we can see why this is happening. So take a close look here. This is Southern California. This is the Aleutian chain off Alaska, Washington, Oregon. So you can see the west coast of the U.S. is here. So the jet stream is at a very nice low latitude. It's running across unabated until it hits the west coast high, and then it just goes to crap. So when we take a look at that and move these models forward in time, you can see it just doesn't hold together well. When we get closer toward the weekend, that's what's happening right about now, we can see that the jet stream does lower right over Southern California. Great, fantastic. That helps to make sure that we are going to get some rain out of that storm. It helps to guide the storm along. But once that's done, then we start getting once again, kind of a fizzle in that jet stream. That west coast high once again starts breaking things apart. So that's going to be one of the most constricting factors that we have to face over the near term as far as rain is concerned. As far as swell is concerned, this isn't such a bad thing. Let's take a look. So this is a wavecast model. This is from my site wavecast.com. It's been sitting there forever, and I run these models at a higher resolution on a bigger screen here so you can see what's going on. In the case of this, and one reason why I did this, you can see this gray area here. That's a 42-foot sea. This is the system that's going to be bringing swell here over the next few days and building, peaking on Friday. You can check my forecast on surfingmagazine.com for the latest on that. When we take a look on FN Mach, we can see more of a polar view here, and we can see how that's running across at a nice, decent latitude. As it does, there's a little bit more you can see later on that would come off Kamchatka. That'd be great. And then after that one, then we've got another one that comes in. This was more of a low that originated off Japan, but then it grew into a fetch here behind that Kamchatka swell. So we could see then a lot more swell starting to come in, probably around the fifth, maybe sixth time frame. Once again, I've got all the details on that. You can go to forecasts.surfingmagazine.com, and I cover Southern California, where I talk in detail about what's going on these models. Taking a look at the jet stream on that same view, we can see that's also quite a positive. We've got a very strong jet that's coming out of the western Pacific. Once it does get, though, toward the west coast, it does weaken, but at least for the long term, when we take a look out on the western Pacific, it still looks nice, still looks very strong. So still have the ideal setup here to guide storms out of the western Pacific to continue bringing swells to Southern California. The only question right now is rain. So still great news for surf for the upcoming month. February still looks like we're going to get quite a few good swells, good west-northwest swells out of it. Talking about double overhead type stuff by the looks of things right now. Most of these storms staying far enough away from us because of that blocking high means that even if they have 40-foot seas right below the Aleutians, or say 30-foot seas and they're about 1,600 nautical miles from us, we're talking about probably just double overhead surf for Southern California. Now the nice thing is if we can be interspersed between rain and swells, and we have enough time then for the bacteria to clean up from the runoff, but also we don't have necessarily storm after storm just where the surf would be. That's what happened in February of 1998. Got a lot of rain, most of it ran off, and of course most of that month was trashed. Most of the surf that was memorable from 1998 was in January. So February could prove to be a very interesting month. Good for surf and possibly just enough rain. And if we can get that miracle March, and we're all keeping our fingers crossed for it, then of course this continuation could happen. And that continuation looks very likely now because we have that westerly wind burst. We have now a Kelvin wave that's progressed, and that's causing now the a downwelling phase, which is now causing some warming that we're seeing. And that's probably the main reason why the CFSV2 and other forecasts for El Nino are strengthening the lingering effects of El Nino for possibly a little bit longer. Keeping our fingers crossed on that. But we've got some great photos that have come in. Wanted to show you all that. That really shows what's going on. It's one thing for me to sit down and just keep showing you charts and graphs and putting you to sleep with all that great stuff. It's science, but hey. And also, you know, the models, that's all fine and dandy. But to really see what's going on, a picture says 1,000 words. So without further ado, here's what everybody's been sending in, and this is what El Nino's been looking like. Let's take a look. Well, that's all I've got for now. Thanks for watching. Sure do appreciate it. And thanks once again for everybody sending in your pictures. You can continue to send them in. I'll try to get them in future videos as well. You can send those to nathan@nathancool.com. And of course, if you'd like, you can also subscribe to this YouTube channel. Whenever there's something new that comes out that just can't get on a video, don't have time for that, or through my reports on Surfing Magazine, just subscribe to my YouTube channel. As soon as one of these videos is posted, you'll be notified. And of course, you can follow me on surfingmagazine.com. Just go to forecasts.surfingmagazine.com, and I concentrate on Southern California. Well, once again, that's it for now. I sure do appreciate you watching, and staying a subscriber. Until next time, take care, be safe, and smile in the lineup.